Fall in New England is something incredible. A riot of colors, fresh cool air, and of course, mushrooms. Our family has a long-standing tradition. Every September, the three of us go to the forest for a quiet hunt. Myself, my wife Jenny, and her mom Katherine. This year, everything was going as usual. We stocked up on baskets, put on comfortable shoes, and prepared to set off. But at the last moment, Jenny came down with some kind of stomach bug. The poor thing was vomiting so much that we seriously worried about her dehydration. "It looks like you'll have to go without me this time," my wife said in a weak voice, hanging over the edge of the bed. "You and Mom go together. No need to waste the mushrooms." Katherine and I exchanged glances. Frankly, spending a whole day alone with my mother-in-law wasn't part of my plans. Don't get me wrong, I've always treated Katherine with affection and respect. But family dinners and holidays are one thing, and long hours in each other's company without the ability to escape are quite another. However, Jenny was right. The mushroom season is short and we didn't want to miss it. And Katherine looked quite enthusiastic about the idea of spending time together. "Don't worry, honey," she said softly to her daughter, adjusting the blanket. "Mike and I will manage just fine. And you get well, we'll be thinking of you in the forest." So there we were, my mother-in-law and I in the car, driving towards the national park, leaving poor Jenny alone with a bucket and a pack of rehydration solution. Well, at least the weather was good. Perhaps the day wouldn't be so bad. We arrived at the spot closer to noon. Katherine was right. The day turned out to be just wonderful. Bright sun, a barely noticeable breeze, and the forest around us, like a colorful carpet of yellow, orange, and red leaves. Even breathing was somehow different here, full-chested. We parked at the edge of the forest, took out the baskets, and slowly moved along the path leading deep into the thicket. Katherine went first, confidently paving the way. For her 60 years, she was in great shape. Fit, energetic, with an ever-present twinkle in her eyes. No wonder Jenny hoped to look like her mom when she grew to her age. At first we walked in silence, intently looking under our feet in search of mushrooms. But gradually the forest silence, the chirping of birds, and the rustle of leaves underfoot relaxed us, and an unhurried conversation began. "Look, the porcini have started," exclaimed Katherine, pointing to a scattering of sturdy boletes under an old oak tree. "Last year there were only russulas here." "So it's a lucky year," I smiled, bending down to cut the sturdy stems. "There will be something to please Jenny with when we get back." Katherine nodded, carefully placing the mushrooms in the basket. "Yeah, poor girl. I hope she manages to recover quickly. After all, we've been gathering this harvest together for so many years. It's strange to go without her." "Well, I hope next year the three of us will be here again," I encouraged my mother-in-law, handing her a particularly large mushroom. She smiled back, and for a moment it seemed to me that something like a spark passed between us. However, I quickly dismissed that thought. After all, what nonsense is getting into my head? Just a great day in pleasant company, that's all. We went deeper into the forest, leaving behind the last signs of civilization. The baskets gradually filled with mushrooms, and the conversation became more and more relaxed. Katherine told funny stories from her childhood, and I shared my university adventures. It's amazing how much in common people from different generations can have. The sun was already beginning to sink towards the horizon when we came to a small glade covered with a soft carpet of moss and last year's leaves. Our feet were buzzing from the long walk, and we sank to the ground without saying a word, leaning our backs against the wide trunk of a tree. "Oh, I didn't think I'd get so tired," Katherine exhaled with a laugh, stretching out her legs. "The years are taking their toll after all." "Come on, you're in great shape," I objected, handing her a bottle of water. "You'd give many young people a run for their money." Katherine nodded gratefully, taking a few greedy sips. A drop of water broke from her lips and slid down her chin, disappearing into the neckline of her blouse. I involuntarily followed it with my eyes and suddenly felt the heat rushing to my cheeks. Damn, what am I thinking about? She's my wife's mother, after all. Apparently my thoughts were reflected on my face, because Katherine suddenly looked at me with a mischievous smile. "Everything okay, Mike? You're kind of red. Didn't overheat, did you?" I hastily averted my gaze, pretending to examine the pattern of leaves on the ground. No, it's all good. Just lost in thought." "And what about?" Katherine inquired, moving a little closer. She smelled of the forest, of decaying leaves and some kind of floral perfume. This scent was intoxicating, making it hard to concentrate. "Oh, it's nothing," I mumbled, frantically trying to change the subject. "Hey, do you remember the first time the three of us went mushroom picking? Jenny hadn't even finished school then." Katherine smiled dreamily, leaning back against the tree trunk. "Of course I remember. You two had just started dating then, and she was so worried about whether you would like me. And you were treating me like I was made of glass, afraid to say an extra word." I snorted, shaking my head. "Yeah, that was something. Youthful shyness and the desire to impress your girlfriend's parents? Quite the combination." "And you know, when I first saw you, I immediately realized that you and Jenny were made for each other," Katherine continued meanwhile, thoughtfully looking off into the distance. "There was such a sense of reliability, stability about you. I immediately felt at ease about my daughter." For some reason, my throat tightened. I knew that my mother-in-law had always treated me well, but I never thought I had made such a strong impression on her. "Thank you, Katherine. That means a lot to me." Our eyes met, and time seemed to slow down. I suddenly saw distinctly every wrinkle in the corners of her eyes, every strand of hair that had escaped from her hairdo. I had never noticed before what beautiful eyes she had, golden brown, framed by thick lashes. I don't know who reached out first, it seemed to happen by itself, as something inevitable. Our lips met, at first timidly, as if asking permission, and then more and more insistently. I pulled Katherine to me, burying my fingers in her hair, and she wrapped her arms around my neck, pressing her whole body against me. There wasn't a single coherent thought left in my head, only an all-consuming desire that made my toes curl and my vision darken. I kissed Katherine feverishly, greedily, as if trying to sate myself with her taste. Her hands slid over my body, making their way under my clothes, sending electric shocks along my spine. We sank down onto the moss without breaking the kiss. Fingers feverishly unbuttoned buttons, pulling clothes off each other as if they were burning our skin. Katherine was beautiful, soft, yielding, perfect. At some point, the remnants of common sense made themselves known. I tore myself away from her lips with difficulty, looking into her eyes clouded with passion. "Katherine, we shouldn't. This is wrong." She pressed her finger to my lips, silencing me. There was not a shadow of doubt on her face, only determination and desire. "Stop it. We both want this. I want you, Mike. Here and now." Her words made my blood boil. To hell with morality, to hell with decency. Right now there was only the two of us and this crazy, uncontrollable attraction between us. I could no longer resist. The kisses grew hotter, the touches bolder. Desire became almost unbearable, demanding release. And when finally our bodies became one, it was like a supernova explosion, blindingly bright, devastatingly powerful. It was madness, it was wrong, and at the same time so incredibly good that I didn't want it to end. Pleasure came in waves, growing stronger until it finally peaked in a blinding flash. Soon I too was engulfed by a powerful wave, burning the remnants of consciousness to ashes. I don't know how long we lay like that. Katherine rested her head on my chest, and I absent-mindedly ran my fingers through her tangled locks. There wasn't a single thought in my head, only blissful emptiness and a satiated languor throughout my body. The return to reality was gradual. At first we just lay in cozy silence, enjoying each other's closeness. Then we slowly began to get dressed, smiling shyly and stealing touches of bare skin while we had the chance. "That was... wow!" Katherine finally broke the silence, buttoning the last button on her blouse. I just grunted in response. Words seemed somehow inappropriate, unable to convey the full range of emotions I was experiencing. What had happened between us was too significant, too profound to describe in a couple of phrases. However, reality took over. The sun had almost set, and the forest was gradually sinking into twilight. We had to go home before it got completely dark. And of course, we had to decide what to do next and how to deal with our little adventure. "Katherine, listen," I began, but she interrupted me, shaking her head. "Don't, Mike. I understand everything. We are adults and we are aware of our actions. What happened? It was beautiful, incredible. But we both know that it can't continue." I nodded slowly. She was right, much as I wanted otherwise. Yes, we have obligations, Family, Jenny. At the mention of my wife, something tightened painfully inside, but I forcibly pushed away the feeling of guilt that was inappropriate now. After all, what's done is done. You can't turn back time and change everything. And I wouldn't want to, honestly. I love my daughter, Katherine continued meanwhile, looking me straight in the eye, and I know you love her. We can't hurt her. What was between us? Let it remain our secret. Sweet, bitter, sinful, but only ours. I swallowed, feeling a lump rising in my throat. Katherine was damn right, and damn generous to be willing to let me go so easily, to forget everything that had bound us. Okay, we'll keep it a secret, for Jenny and our family's sake. Katherine nodded, and suddenly hugged me tightly, burying her face in my shoulder. I hugged her back, inhaling the scent that was so familiar to me now. But you must know, Mike, no matter what happens, I will never regret what was between us, and I will always keep these memories in my heart. Me too, Katherine. Me too. We stood like that for a little while longer, giving ourselves time to enjoy each other's closeness for the last time. And then, without saying a word, we broke the embrace and headed for the edge of the forest, picking up the baskets of mushrooms along the way. We had a road home ahead of us, and, I was sure, many more happy years with our family. The return home went surprisingly smoothly. Jenny met us a little pale, but quite perky. She pounced on the mushrooms with delight, began asking how the day went. Katherine and I exchanged glances and replied almost in unison, "Everything's great, honey. Nothing special, just a wonderful day in the forest." And we didn't even lie. It really was a wonderful day. The kind that happens only once in a lifetime, a day full of magic, passion, and revelations. A day that forever changed my perception of Katherine and our relationship. In the coming weeks, we acted as usual. Weekend dinners, family holidays, trips out of town together. At first glance, everything was the same, but as soon as our eyes met, I would drown in her golden brown eyes, remembering that crazy, beautiful day. Katherine kept her word. She didn't betray our secret with a single word or gesture, remaining the same caring mom and loving mother-in-law. But sometimes, when we were alone, she would casually touch my hand or give me a meaningful look. And I knew. She remembered too. She also kept our secret in her heart. Gradually, the sharpness of the memories dulled, muted by the routine of everyday life. But somewhere deep in my soul, I will always keep the memory of that intoxicating day in the autumn forest. The taste of Katherine's lips, the velvetiness of her skin under my fingers, the sweet languor after a mind-blowing orgasm. Of course, it will not happen again. We made a decision, and I intend to stick to it. After all, I have Jenny, the woman I love more than life, and I can't hurt her, destroy our family for the sake of a fleeting passion. But you know what? I have no regrets. I'm sure Katherine doesn't either. What happened between us was too right, too real to regret or be ashamed of. It just happened. A magical coincidence, a whim of fate. And I'm grateful for this experience, for these memories. Life is an unpredictable thing. You never know what surprise it will bring around the next corner. The important thing is to be able to accept its gifts with gratitude and not miss your chance when it comes. Today, a year later, I look at my wife sleeping next to me, running my fingers through her hair, and think about how lucky I am. I have everything one could dream of: a beloved woman, a strong family, an interesting job, and somewhere deep in my memory will always live that crazy, beautiful adventure. My little secret, my personal magic. And you know what? I'm damn happy with that. Did you like this story? Let us know in the comments what you liked. Subscribe to our storytelling podcast. Also, don't forget to like and ring the bell so you don't miss more interesting stories. See you soon.